Hey, everybody, it's Coach Bronson. We are here at Keto Con in Austin 2022, and we've got a bunch of fantastic people here. We figured we'd get together and kind of just talk about random topics, kind of a roundtable, pick a topic from a hat discussion, and just share our knowledge, share experience, and maybe some things we talk about can help you and wherever you are in your journey. So I guess to get started, I guess the first question to kick things off is going to be, we'll be lighthearted about it. Let's talk about what you guys eat in a day. How do you start your day with food? What's the first thing that you eat in a day? Let's start with Joe.
What do we eat in a day? We start off with coffee. Yeah. Coffee has got to be number one. And our coffee is different every day. Okay. Sometimes, Rachel drinks black coffee. I don't drink black coffee. Sometimes it contains butter. Sometimes it contains some MC2 oil powder. A lot of times it contains a raw egg. We take a raw egg, we throw it in a blender, a couple of drops of iodine, maybe a couple of drops of stevia or monk fruit or something like that. Yeah. So that's our start. And then for us, we vary everything up. Some days we have breakfast, some days we don't have breakfast. So breakfast could be eggs. Sometimes it's burgers or bacon or whatever leftover food we have. Okay. So.
This is me now, huh? I pretty much do, Robert Sykes, Keto Savage, lifetime natural competitive bodybuilder. I drink coffee with heavy cream, pretty much just heavy cream, nothing fancy, no crazy eggs or anything like that. And then...
Before now, maybe you'll try.
Maybe. And I typically do 2 meals a day, one of which they're both, animal-based protein. I'll typically have 1 keto brick a day to help with my dietary fat. So pretty much a diet of meat and bricks. And that's pretty much it. Pretty super simple.
Everybody turning in right when you said meat and bricks.
So you have
to keto brick, like clarification there.
If they don't know what a brick is, a keto brick. I mean, I know what a brick is, but what's a keto brick? Tell them how they can find it.
If you don't know what a keto brick is, you're watching the wrong YouTube channel. No, it's basically a 1,000 calorie ketogenic meal replacement bar made with shelf-stable fat, predominantly cacao butter, which is very high in stearic acid. So just a really quality, nutrient-dense, shelf-stable food product.
Dr. Bill Schindler from the Modern Stone Age Kitchen and the Eastern Shore Food Lab. Always start the morning with coffee. I typically don't eat black coffee until about 2 o'clock, usually. I have a small meal then, always something that has animal fats, animal protein, and something fermented, some sort of lacto-fermented vegetable. My larger meal is a little bit later in the day.
Awesome. Cool. Let's go back to Coach Bronson again. Coffee as well is the first thing. I like to mix mine up. Sometimes I do heavy cream. Sometimes I do butter. Most of the time, I also put in chocolate Equip protein powder because I like the mocha kind of flavor there, and you can never have too much protein. So that's how I start my day. My first meal of the day is usually around 11 o'clock, and it's probably going to be 8 to 10 ounces of lamb and 4 to 6 eggs.
Hi, Natalie here, the Keto Bikini Pro, and coffee, something a little different.
5 to 5.
I make my keto coffee I've been making for the last 7 years, and it is pretty much usually the same thing. Collagen, sometimes Equip vanilla, which is a beef isolate protein powder, mixes very well into hot liquids. I always do a teaspoon of MCT oil, don't need much more than that. And I add my powder athletic supplements. So I do creatine, I do glutamine for my gut. Sometimes a little cinnamon to add a little spice. And my first meal of the day is usually lamb and eggs. We are a lamb and eggs family over here. I've been primarily carnivore since January, so lamb and eggs is my favorite thing. And that's usually around maybe 11 o'clock in the morning.
I'm Temple Stewart. I'm the ketogenic nutritionist. I am a coffee as well, except I can't do dairy. So I do unsweetened coconut cream, which is really good. And I'm a steak and eggs girl. So either steak and eggs, maybe occasionally bacon, but pretty simple, your typical breakfast. Yeah.
I'm Cindy from Ask Nurse Cindy, 65-year-old, 94 pounds, lost, registered nurse for 44 years, obese till I was 59, never knew normal size. Breakfast for me is oftentimes forgotten. I'm not much of a coffee person, believe it or not. It's more of sparkling water, but I have Dr. Eads from Protein Power. What's his first name? You guys, anyway, He told me about a collagen product that's from a small mom and pop, and of course I don't remember the name, but you can't mix it with anything heated because it'll denature it. So I have a collagen protein powder with some iced coffee that I've had, and that will at least give me a lot of the immune things that you get from things that haven't been denatured. And then I'll have eggs. I follow Dr. Gabriel Lyon, and so I've really gotten into trying to get enough protein in 2 or 3 times a day so that I can have the ability to assimilate it and build muscle, because I'm learning about muscle as you age. So
That's good. Well, I'm Rachel. I'm the other half of two crazy ketos, filling out the crescent of our crescent here today. I begin every morning with coffee to keep Joe alive down there, and also not go on any type of crime spree. So, and then I usually like bacon and eggs. Really, kind of a traditional breakfast is really my favorite.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate that. What is the biggest change you've seen since you started going keto? You can start and we'll work away this down.
We'll work this way. Definitely the most, the biggest change in my life, and the most unexpected change, to be honest, is not the weight loss, but it is how keto has spoken into lifelong depression, anxiety, social anxiety. I feel very victorious even being here today and being able to speak here at Keto Con, because it was very hard for me to even be in social situations previously. So keto I take no medication at all anymore. It's something that I have struggled with even since elementary school. So I think it's been a very powerful victory for me to enjoy what I would just say is like a normal level of social interaction, and even being able to share my story publicly. And I'm very excited about what keto has done in that arena.
I'll go next. So I'll probably get a little emotional because I was a lifelong addict. Mom fed us with love, and it was always carbs. And to be set free at 59, I thought it was for the weight loss. It was to be able to realize my potential, to be able to step out and help other women my age. If you don't follow me, most of my demographics are women from 45 to 75. I have 2% men that follow me. I'm one of them. Because it is so easy to become trapped into sneak eating and into addictive behaviors that you hide and you don't want anybody to know, because it's too humiliating and there's shame. And to be set free from that is amazing. So that's my unexpected blessing, and the community that you find when you do this.
Yeah, so that's a hard one to follow. But so I have found a couple things. Number one, I reversed my PCOS and Hashimoto's. I was able to get pregnant naturally, which changed my life. And then on top of that, it really ignited a passion. And as a dietitian, keto isn't like a super friendly field. And so it ignited that career for me, and really to kind of gave me the courage to branch out and really accept and pursue what I knew to be true. So not only did it give me my health back, a baby, but it also gave me my passion in my career. So it's been life-changing, to say the least.
For me, it started with healing. I was chronically ill in my 20s. Ulcers, migraines, GERD, all the gut issues. I was on antidepressants for gut problems, which screwed me up even more. Birth control, all of those things. I got off every single medication, healed myself through a ancestral paleo template, and then keto. And keto entered my life, completely changed my body composition, my shape, my size, became a professional bodybuilder, and discovered a passion and a career. And now I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner and a health coach, and here and with these amazing people. And it's just completely opened up a whole new life that I never even imagined I could have. But probably the most profound and the most recent thing that it has done for me is it brought me back from a massive bulimia relapse after 18 years of being food sober. So I can relate to Nurse Cindy on the addiction side of things. What this does for your mental health is on a completely different level. The anxiety, the depression, the cloud lifted. I was able to think clearly again. I was able to see things in a clear perspective again, see myself in a different light. And it's just turned the lights on, is what I like to call it.
Awesome. For me, I think freedom is key. If anybody's heard me talk about fitness is freedom, there's some things that happen when we're unhealthy, regardless of whether it's fitness, nutrition, mental, whatever. And for me, IBS, right? The irritable bowels, urgent bowels. My life was controlled literally by how close I could get to a bathroom, where I went, when I went, all that kind of stuff. So cleaning that up, freeing that up, and being able to live my life without having to worry about that added stress all the time. Always having to have toilet paper nearby just in case, right? That whole thing, right? So the amount of control that has on your life, you don't even realize until it's gone. And then you're like, whoa, what is going on here? I can do stuff. I don't have to worry about it anymore, you know? So for me, I think that's probably the biggest thing, is just being free from the anxiety of what my body's doing that I felt like I didn't have any control over. So it's probably the biggest thing.
I'm like, that's sure. So everything that was said, ditto for sure, and it's hard to follow every one of you. Well, one additional thing I would say is being able to have that control and understand your food, your diet, how your body reacts and responds to the things you're putting in, and that added sense of understanding where your food comes from, meeting farmers, meeting chefs, meeting, all that, it adds that sense of connection, that we all need with our environment and our communities. The people that create our food for us, and also ourselves and our families. So I think that connection has been a major part for me as well.
Yeah, ditto as well. I feel like for me, doing natural bodybuilding and going through a prep process, gaining a bunch of muscle, losing a bunch of fat, being really strict with my macros, I was doing that before I found keto. And after the shows, I would just have a terrible relationship with food. I would binge, I would purge. I would not be able to recover from that, reverse that properly. So the ketogenic diet helped me to figure out how to do that in a sustainable fashion from a health standpoint. And that's why I've been doing it strictly for 7 years since then. But from past the physical, like going deeper into the psychological and the relational aspect of it, like I have that community now of like-minded people that's allowed me to build a business, that's allowed me to plug in and have my sense of fulfillment, sense of self, sense of value to add to the greater good of my fellow human being. And none of that would be possible had it not been for this diet and lifestyle. So I owe my everything to it.
So I have two things that I really have gotten. I mean, I've gotten a lot of things. I mean, 100 pounds weight loss, all of that. But the biggest thing that I got was the freedom from pain. So, we talked about it this morning in our talk, but 30 years on arthritis medication and painkillers, and 6 months into keto, not even noticing until 6 months in that I hadn't taken a painkiller or arthritis pill in 6 months. And I had been taking one every day for 30 years. Wow. So like you talk about a motivation is like, I didn't understand that keto would do that for me because I did it for weight loss. And now I always tell people now, listen, don't look at keto as a weight loss diet. Look at it as a lifestyle changes, and you're going to improve your health. And the weight loss is a side effect. We tell people all the time, if you never lost another pound, but you're off of your diabetes medication and you're free from pain and you got better blood pressure and you feel better and your emotional issues are gone and your anxiety is gone, is it worth it? And I think a lot of times when we first get started, we're like, no, it's not worth it. And then you start going, you know what? I'd rather weigh 300 pounds and not have anxiety and not have pain. Than weigh 180 pounds and have all of those issues. The other thing that I got, and Nurse Cindy talked about, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Nurse Cindy 3 years ago, but it is the friendship. You're talking to somebody who I never had friends, never. And I think there's more friends in this building right now than I've had in my entire life. I wouldn't be running a business if it wasn't for this guy, okay? I mean, Robert has inspired me so much over the last 3 years because he's the same age as our son. And I look at where was I at that age? I certainly wasn't running a very successful business, and certainly not looking like this either. But yeah, but no, the friendships have been amazing. So, and I thank keto for that. So I have a question, and that is, if for somebody brand new, what is one tip that you could give them who is brand new, or even somebody who's not new? Maybe they've been doing this for a couple of years and they keep stumbling. So I'm curious of what everybody would give. What would be the one tip you would give them? And I will start off, and that is, if you have an off day or an off meal, pick right back up. Don't do an extended fast. Don't say I've got to go and do something and exercise for 5 hours to make up for the fact that I just screwed up or something, because I think that ends up with a mentality of a binge and purge, that, oh, I screwed up, so I got to go take a 10-mile run to make up for that. And I think that that's a problem that a lot of people end up having, and we just take another type of a food addiction and we turn it into a problem where we start binging and purging, but in a different way. And that also what ends up happening there is it gives us a justification to do it again because we've got a way out of it.
All right, so from a classic 80-20 analysis standpoint, if somebody's coming into the space right now, they're just going to be inundated with a ton of information and not really know where to turn because a lot of it seems to conflict. So if someone's just getting into space, they want to just have the classic 80-20 analysis and do the most bang for their buck in the simplest manner possible, I would encourage them to just simply eat quality, wholesome, single ingredient, animal-based, natural foods. Boom. That's pretty much what the ketogenic diet is in a nutshell. Once you get that dialed in, that foundation's laid, then you can start diving into the world of macros and dilating in everything else. But that from a very high level is going to solve the majority of your problems.
No matter whether it's keto, paleo, some kind of primal ancestral eating, no matter what it is you're doing, I think all of us need to, number one, take advantage of the community, take advantage of the knowledge of that community, the friendship, support, all of it. But at the same time, trust yourself. And we have been eating and making sound dietary decisions for millions of years, and we have what we need inside of us. We just have to unlock it. We have to trust ourselves. We have to understand how our bodies respond to different foods. And when you start eating a little bit cleaner, when you start eating a better diet, you can really start to pay attention and understand those body signals and listen to them. Yeah. One of the things that it has been a goal of mine for some time, and it sounds so simple, but it's so difficult to do, but I think a great goal is make the plan, have the goal that when you get up from a table, you should feel better than when you sat down. Yeah. I mean, food is supposed to nourish us in every form. And I don't mean feel better just physically, feel better emotionally, feel better culturally. So when you get up from a table, you should have nourished yourself in every form possible. And if you make that goal, and if you do that, all the changes, all the things will fall into line.
That's good. That's good. I think for a beginner, the biggest thing is, like you said, Rob, there's so much information out there. Don't get married to any one tactic. Don't get married to this is the way it needs to be done. Learn about concepts, learn about methodologies, learn about principles, because those can be applied based on scenarios and context. But if you focus on a tactic, you may miss the context of why that tactic is being used, and it may not apply to you. So learn about things. Don't be afraid to try things, but don't get married to something, because even if it does work for you now, it may not work for you 6 months from now. It may not work for you 2 years from now. So learning about how things work, I think, is the key, but don't get married to any one thing and just say, this is the way it's going to be for the rest of my life.
Since he didn't say it, I get to go into it. What I tell my clients all the time is tune inward. Keto can feel like magic, but it's not magic. And it cannot heal what you don't deal with. It can heal everything physiologically. It can heal a lot neurochemically. It cannot heal your emotions. So tune in. First thing first, go deep on your why. 7 levels deep, we like to say. Keep asking yourself why. Why do I want that? Why is that important to me? Answer that question. Why is that important to me? Answer that question. If it's not eliciting an emotional response, if you don't tear up like Nurse Cindy did, probably not deep enough. Figure out why you really want this. And in those moments where it's difficult and all you want to do is go back to the carbs, you're going to have that front of mind. So find a way to keep that front of mind every day. And when it gets hard, just keep putting one foot in front of the other.
That's good. You guys are doing good ones. So mine would be, it's hard to follow when you're on this end because it's like you've all said it. I would say give yourself grace. So I think in this space, it's really easy, especially come from any type of binge eating or just with societal pressures to be thin and to look a certain way. I think it's very easy to expect overnight change. I think it's very easy to put standards that may be somewhat unrealistic on ourselves. And oftentimes I see my clients and other women in this space just with these wild expectations. And so I always try to encourage them, you didn't get here overnight. You're not going to fix it overnight either, but just look at other things other than the scale, other than cosmetic aspects of this, and really just take away a lot of the pressure, right? We're so difficult and hard on ourselves, and the comments we make to ourselves can be really, really tough sometimes. So mine would just be to give yourself a little bit of grace.
Progress.
That's right. Progress over perfection. So, wow, I was sitting here thinking, I have so many things that are important. I think for me, what I found is that when I started, I wanted to do all these exotic recipes and I was trolling all the keto recipes. And those were many times triggers for me because of how obsessed I had been with food. So I have this thing I call the 3 S's. Keep it simple. It's satisfying, so it's sustainable. And so I always now, and it'll morph over time. And if you need to have more veg at first, or you need something really creamy next to your whatever meat you're having, do what you can to keep it sustainable. I find now that if I start with my meat first, and I do what's called the 20 chew challenge, which means try to chew it 20 times before you swallow it. We gulp our food, right? We're just like a ravenous dog. If I take the time to really chew that and savor that and be present in the moment, first it triggers the enzymes to be released in my saliva. And then when I swallow, I'm doing it in a sort of a slow enough manner that those stretch receptors in my gut, in my stomach especially, start to feel satiety. That many times I'll look at if I have some asparagus or broccoli on my plate, I'm like, I'm great. And my husband's like, why do you keep making vegetables? I'm like, I don't know. I just don't know. But I think be as simple as you can at first. Don't feel like you have to make the exotic recipes. A wonderful piece of meat, the best meat you can afford. And if that's bologna right now, okay. Because you'll find as you stop going to the doctor as much and you don't need the medications, that there'll be money freed up. A dozen eggs, as expensive as they are right now, is still a great choice for you. So chew a lot, enjoy it, and start with the meat.
It's more than one. Sorry, start with the meat.
Kind of like a little bit of a two-parter. The first thing is stay in your lane. Don't keep your eyes on somebody else's journey. There's so many, social media is such a powerful blessing, but it's got a double edge to it. And a lot of times, we can just kind of look at other people's Instagram or Facebook or whatever and say like, why, have I been on this journey for a certain amount of time and not experienced the same results that they have yet? And there's just nothing good comes from it, because you're mad at them and you're mad at yourself. And to kind of go with that is, there are a lot of tools in this space for measuring that success. There's scales and there's, ketone meters and, everybody's measuring all that. And it's important to keep those things in their proper place. We enjoy the tile saw that Joe has in his garage, but we're not worried about how it's doing every single day. It's in the garage and we use it as a tool and and we put it away, I mean, it does what it needs to do. So I think you have to be careful with data collection on yourself. It's a tool, but it's not the totality of who you are. And, so you've got to keep it in their proper place.
All right. So we'll do one more. Let's talk about your journey and how you've progressed. I think most of us here, I think maybe Rob, I don't know your background. I started my journey with fitness and then I found nutrition. Right? How did that work for you? And where's your progression in that now?
Well, I have been obese lifelong. Even when I was in 3rd grade, they were moving me around in the yearbook picture to to be as far back as possible. Cause it was boy, she's almost as big as the teacher. So, I definitely came to keto for weight loss and that it's been great. The health has been awesome to reclaim my health and actually live a life. And that continues to evolve as we have discovered motion and movement. And I think that I really robbed myself when we began this keto journey as thinking like, wow, keto is so great because I can lose weight and not have to move at all. And I really had developed a smaller shirt size, but not a bigger life. And I'm really thankful for the freedom of movement that the friendships have brought out. You know, people like Coach Bronson has really kind of instilled that in my heart. And I'm so thankful that, yes, I'm tinier, but I have more mobility. And that really is something that I'm so proud of. I mean, you know, when we first got married, Joe had to utilize a wheelchair even for our honeymoon. And the opportunity for us to turn in our, you know, disability parking tag and I feel like it's a mark of pride that we get to park our car like way out and like, you know, and walk past that and not need that anymore, not have to like consider ourselves as disabled or, you know, less than, because it really isn't something to celebrate that, oh, I don't have to do all of those things. So now I feel like it's just such a joy to seek out ways that I can move my body and do things. I mean, we recently like cut down a bunch of trees at our house, and that was something we would have had to pay somebody for. And I felt so empowered to be able to do that myself. I mean, not only did we save $600, you know, and I was like, that's my ribeye budget right there at like, you know, in bulk trash, but like I can do things for myself. And I feel very empowered by that. I'm really thankful for that.
So I mentioned earlier that I have been, my first memory was in the first grade when they would bring in these scales to your first grade class and the teacher would call out a name. You'd walk out front to the front of the class in front of everyone and step on the scales. And I was 95 pounds at age 6. I have never known being normal sized till now. And when I sat at my first keto conference and I listened to speaker after speaker explain the science, and one lady stood up, I don't remember who she was, and she was one of the speakers, and she said, there's the power of making a single decision, meaning this is what I have to do for my future. I looked down the road at my family that had come with me, and I said, I can never eat those ultra-processed carbs again. I might play around. You know, now I've learned over the years, I might play around with macros, and I might do this or that, and you morph through it, but I never have to worry about going to a party. Am I gonna cheat? Am I gonna do that? Because I made that decision that they're evil. Frankenfoods are evil. They've been worked up to this bliss point. So for me, the journey has been one of self-discovery of what it's like to go into a normal size section in the store and buy clothes in a single digit size. And to just be able to start exploring what are my next 30 or 40 years going to be? How can I enjoy what a lot of people grew up doing that I never, I was senior class president, always the outgoing fat one, right? Because you either withdraw or you become the class clown. And I had to pay a friend's brother to take me to senior prom, and I was senior class president. Will I ever go back to processed carbs? No.
Again, a hard one to follow. But so my journey really started, I played Division I soccer, and it was less of a health thing for me as it was a performance thing for me. And so that's really what got me into the whole nutrition space. And then really through college, my health just really hit the fan. I got diagnosed with PCOS, Hashimoto's, severe ulcerative colitis, and it was like, I was just struggling. And so it transformed from a performance to a health thing for me. And now it's really morphed into this just again, and I go back to what I said earlier, just passion to help others. It's almost like when a light turns off, you really can't shut it off, especially when you know the darkness of the clinically trained dietitian and what I saw of myself not being able to help people. And now with this knowledge, I can change other people's lives through the knowledge that I've gleaned from it. So it really has taken a lot of different shapes over the last years, but really now my really focus and passion and goals is to get the message out and to help as many people as I can have experiences like you guys have had, which is incredible, really.
So I'd say my journey has come full circle. It started out as healing for health 360 degrees, mental, emotional, spiritual, all of it. I was a dancer growing up. I was always considered fit. I grew up in a Greek and Italian household with a lot of food, a lot of carbs, all the things, all the sweets. It was the 80s and 90s and the early 2000s. So it was all the convenience, microwave and packaged goods after school and all of that. And so although I was always fit, I was never healthy, and I was never really knew anything about nutrition or what it meant to, oh, I'm going to go on a diet. And then I'd be eating cereal instead of candy bars, not realizing it's the same thing. And I did like the whole vegetarian thing as a teenager and just all of these things. By the time I got to keto, it had been a progression of, I had a broken heart. I was looking inward at who I am and who do I want to be, and coming back to my faith, and everything worked together, and it was all about becoming holistically healthy as a human being. So once I got my health under control and I got involved in keto to change my body. And then I dove right back into focusing entirely on what I looked like. And once aesthetics became the goal over health, that's where my bulimia relapse happened. And I found myself at the lowest body fat I'd ever been in my life, at the most fit and healthy looking I've ever been in my life. And I was dead inside. The depression and the anxiety and the self-loathing and the hatred and the shame was deeper than it's ever been before. And I turned back to keto once again on an emotional, spiritual, self-love, inner journey that then led me back to health as the main focus. So from here on out, my journey is always health first, aesthetics second, body composition second. It's a happy side effect, as Joe said. It'll come along for the ride, but it shouldn't be the first thing.
I think for me, the change, like I said, I started with fitness, was in my late 30s, saw a picture of myself. You guys have all heard the story. I saw a picture of myself. I was like, that guy is not who I think I am. So I need to change something. So I went directly to fitness. After a while, owned a CrossFit gym for a couple of years, saw another picture of myself at a pool party. It was like, that guy looks the same. Like, wait a second. This is not like, I'm a CrossFit guy. I shouldn't look like this. This doesn't make sense. And then I, found keto, found carnivore, went through that whole process. And I think the biggest thing that I've learned in my progression and journey is that there is joy in always striving for more.
Yeah.
Like if you're not moving forward, there's only one other direction to go.
Yeah.
So understanding that the idea and the struggle of getting better is absolutely worth it, 110%. The pain of staying where you are only gets worse.
That's true. Yeah.
So just no matter what you're going through, just understand that the struggles are there to make you better and to help you handle further, because you're always going to have struggles. So if you avoid the struggles, number one, you're not going to. And number two, when they do happen, you won't be ready for them.
That's right.
So embrace the struggle. And we say in the Army, right, in the military, embrace the suck, right? Because that's really what it's all about.
Yeah. It's good.
So I grew up in the 70s and 80s in a family. My mother was very concerned with health food store every week, listen to everything the FDA and the USDA said. I was eating the margarine, I was drinking the skim milk. And I battled weight my entire life, incredibly poor self-body image. In high school, I became an athlete and the weight dropped off, but the health problems were still there. They were just mass. I looked fit, didn't feel fit. I wrestled for a Division I program for Ohio State. It was one of the best wrestling programs in the country at the time. And again, I took on that persona of an athlete, looked fit, and I was inside was terrible, especially digestive issues. I can really resonate with that. I had toilet paper everywhere that I went. I remember, and then when I stopped being an athlete, all the weight poured back on, and I was obese. I was suffering from all sorts of different problems. And I remember when my wife and I first got married, we had no money. To go out to dinner was a very rare experience. And on the way there, I would look and identify all the places that I could stop and go to the bathroom on the way home, because I would never make it home without stopping at least once. I mean, it was a big deal because, and she was pissed because we had no money. We just lost all of it in the, the McDonald's bathroom. So on the way home, so, no, we weren't eating at McDonald's. We were hitting on the way home. And really, two things happened at the same time that allowed me to really begin my journey towards health. Number one, I was an archaeologist and anthropologist, and still am, and I came at it from that anthropological and archaeological perspective and understood ancestral diets that way. And when I started implementing what I saw in the ground and from the people that I was studying, everything changed. And the other thing that happened was I became a father, and it was more than just trying to, feed myself. I was now trying to nourish, and now it's so much more important too. And I'm 49 years old now. I'm in the best health of my life, even better than when I was a Division I athlete at the age of late teens and early 20s.
Yeah, so kind of like as I said earlier, I started bodybuilding about 14 years ago now. I've been keto for 7. And after my first 7 years of bodybuilding, doing a traditional bro diet approach, eating 6 or 7 meals a day, lots of carbohydrates, lots of protein, very little dietary fat, and I developed all those disordered eating tendencies. I knew there had to be a better way, just didn't know what that way was. Couple that with the fact that at the time, I was also working in a corporate job and unfulfilled in that life path, not feeling like I was contributing anything of value to the world. I tried to find a way to bridge that gap and find a way to combine my passion for bodybuilding, my passion for nutrition, and my passion for business to create something that I was proud to call my own life. At the time, I was $250,000 in debt. I was emotionally eating, and I was in a very bad relationship with myself, the food, my life path, and my only girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife. We've since mended that relationship. It was just not good at any form or fashion. So for me, adopting the ketogenic lifestyle is so much more than just what it's done for me nutritionally and physically. It's allowed me to create a trajectory that I'm proud of. I'm more excited for the next 50 years of my life than the last, I guess I can't say that, the last 50 years because I'm not 50 years old. But you get what I'm saying. So I'm excited for the future. Yeah, I'm excited for the future. I'm excited for the opportunity to be able to continue to get better with each year that passes as opposed to getting worse. I feel like that's a common trait, common denominator here. Like, this is not a death sentence. It is quite the opposite. It's the fountain of youth, especially when paired with weight training, a quality diet, and having a community that you can pour yourself into and become a part of. Those are like the 3 pillars for the fountain of youth. So being able to couple all that together and just live it every single day without fail, without deviation, without reason to deviate has been my breath of life. It's my lifeblood. It's my oxygen. So I'm just happy and proud to be here amongst these other great people and excited for what tomorrow holds.
So, like I said, for me, I was obese my entire life. I remember 6, 7 years old shopping in the husky section of the store for corduroys, which made it even worse. Like, yes, yeah. So, I've been obese my entire life. My mother was a medical oncologist. My father was a clinical PhD. I was told my entire life, you need to lose weight. I was always obese, and I didn't know what to do with it. And I would go up and down. I tried pretty much every diet there was, with the exception of Weight Watchers. I never did Weight Watchers. But I did do Nutrisystem and Jenny Craig, and I worked out. And when I had my injury, because I spent 2 years on crutches, I did get to the point where I had a 54-inch chest and a 35-inch waist. But then it went the other way. And so, my last known weight was 285 pounds, but that's because I didn't want to see the scale at 300. So I stopped getting on the scale, but I went up 4 sizes after that. So guaranteed I was over 300 pounds. I found keto because of a weight loss bet at church. I was going to a CrossFit. The CrossFit closed because he was charging everybody only $50 because he was charging $50 if you went to the church. And that was the entire clientele. And anybody who's known CrossFit knows you can't operate a CrossFit gym on $50 a month. So when he closed it, I was like, what do I do now? And it just so happened that Danny Vega had been attending our church. He was on his way out of our church. He had moved, but he had left the rumblings of keto in our church. And I'd heard this word keto. I told Rachel, I'm going to do keto. She said, only if it doesn't cost our family any money. Can't cost us any money, no supplements, no nothing like that, because we had no money. And so I started doing it. I started keto for the weight loss, but as I said earlier, I discovered no pain and I discovered health. But the intention was always to do keto, lose the weight, and go back to carbs. That was always the intention until I realized I had no pain. And then when we came to Keto Con in 2019, it set us on a mission to change the world. And our motto now is change the world one ribeye at a time. I will never go back. I was like Rachel, I started keto going, I'm going to be able to do this without losing weight. And I considered myself healthy fat because I had good cholesterol. And I was still able to officiate football and lacrosse games at 300 pounds. I was able to run up and down the field. So who cares if I weighed 300 pounds? I wasn't healthy, but I thought I was. I convinced myself that I was healthy. And so I figured I never needed to work out. And then I met this guy, and listen, I can't identify with him. I love Robert, but I can't identify with somebody who's half my age because I'm never going to look like that. But what really motivated me that, yes, you've lost the weight, but you're still not healthy yet because you're not moving as much as you should be, is this guy right here. When I met him a couple of years ago, and I found out that he's a year younger than me, and I'm like, how does he look like that and I look like this? And so, well, I'm sure you did. So, you know, he motivated me to, you need to, now that you've lost the weight, now that you can move, now you need to work on fitness, because as Rob Bronson likes to say, is fitness is freedom. So I will leave you with this, is find somebody. There's a lot of different personalities sitting here. There's a lot of different ages of people sitting here, from the 20s to the 60s.
I'm 30, man.
Well, find somebody. There you go, 20s. Find somebody and identify with them. There's somebody out here that you can identify with and latch onto them.
Thanks for joining us. Does anybody have anything they want to leave with before we drop off? Awesome. Thank you all for doing this. Maybe we can do this again sometime.
Let's do it.